Well, hello and welcome to part 2 of the video. In this part, we're going to be putting the main components back on the engine. So that means the cam and the lifters are going in, the intake manifold's going on, and I'm going to get underneath and do the oil pan, get it all buttoned up and get the car stable again, or get the engine stable in the car again. So that'll pretty much be this one, and then I'll save part 3 to handle all the new pieces that'll be going on, which include, the distributor and the fans, and then of course the startup of the car and everything. So that's what's going to be happening next. So get ready for part 2. All right, well, it's finally time to clean the cam up, put it in the car, and start putting things back together. So the new cam is here. Let's take it out of the box. The process is pretty easy. We're just going to take it out. We're going to clean it with some mineral spirits per the instructions on the cam sheet, and put it in, lube it and put it in. So one thing I wanted to get out of that box that I know was missing, put the cam here, and it fell on the floor, is the Pro Cam and Lifter lubricant. So this is what we're going to put on the lobes of the cam. I got another tube in case I need it for doing the lifters separately. Okay. Put some of that out of the way. Alright. There's a label on here to go ahead and use the Comp Cam lubricant, break-in oil, and their additive, which I have. Not sure where it's at right this second, but yeah, I have it. I'm going to clip this. Alright. Get that out of here. Open this up. Okay. Now this cam has been treated, the way the lobes look here has been treated with their nitrite process, which I don't know a lot about it, but I know they put it in some kind of vehicle, that machine that blasts it with nitrate or something. I don't know. It's supposed to be a little bit thick, or I mean a thin coating over all these parts. So let's just try to clean it up. I see there's some residue on the various parts. So the way I plan on installing this is I'm going to put the gear on. Just wipe it down. I spilled the mineral spirits all over the place. Okay. This kind of helps me to clean up this stuff too. I need to clean it all up. Now basically, I am just, this isn't for the final install. This is just to put the cam together. Alright, let me put you up here. A little wider view. Alright. Now I really don't care where it sits, because this is just to hold on to the cam while I install it. I really can't see. Like I said, this isn't the final assembly. This is just to keep it in place so I can hold on to it while I'm putting it in the engine. Alright. Cool. Alright. Now she should be ready to be lubed up. And I'm going to get the lube started here. Let's take it over to the engine and install it. Well, before I do that, I'm going to get this first row This is pretty much just like the lube I just put on. And this is the part 103. Came with the... Who knew that? Must have changed the formula a little bit, because I think it used to look black or something, but whatever, it's what it is now. Might as well get it all done then. Well, let's get this set up to go in. Okay, well, this should be interesting. Let's see how it goes in. Now, just because of the way this is, not everybody can fit in the engine compartment at the same time. So, all right, we're going in. As gently as I can. Okay, last journal. Ow, finger pinched. All right, there it goes. All right, okay. All right, okay, the cam is in. All right, now I'm ready to put the gears in. As you can see, I got very little room, and I really am having a hard time seeing what my pointer is straight up and down, but I can tell, at least from here, it does not look straight up and down. Okay, several marks on here. Basically, I'm just going with the 0 degree. 0 degree, also known on this gear as S. So I think S probably stands for standard or something like that. You might be able to see it there. You see an S there, and there is an S right down here. And right there's the dot. So I kind of have to line it up. Alright, now okay. I cannot see my S hole up here. Ow. This is the hardest part. Okay, I'm gonna guess S is right there. It's gonna be off just a little bit to the side. All right. So there is the gear. Okay. S is right here. Okay, that might be it. Well, I know this might be kind of hard to see, but the marks are lined up. This isn't the final assembly. I mean, the gears and stuff are going to stay on. I put the bolt on. I'm missing the gear shaft or the eccentric for the fuel pump, but that bolt's on there just loosely, just so that nothing comes apart. So this is just to basically show you that the marks are lining up. The crankshaft mark is on the bottom, faced up to 12 o'clock, and the camshaft is down at 6 o'clock. So the two dots are close as they can be to each other right now, and that's the correct way to set it up. So it's a little difficult doing it from the what I had to do was lay on the floor. My creeper's down there. I laid on the creeper and did it with the mirror, and that worked out pretty good. It's not ideal, but you know, I can check, and the way that I checked was basically either using my camera or trying to look through the front bumper. So there you go. That part is almost wrapped up. At least the gears are in now. So, well, what you're seeing here is me doing a dry fit for everything and just making sure that everything is here. I got the screw positions, I believe, correct. So I'm making sure that everything worked, and then I just cleaned a bunch of threads, ran it through the thread cleaner, so I make sure that everything goes in smoothly. All the ends go on as they're supposed to. Everything's screwed into its bores as easily as it can. So I feel pretty good that it's ready. So I'm going to get it ready to mount on the car now. So let's take it back off, prep the surface, and get it ready. Now that I know I got all this nuts and bolts. Alright, well, I got the cover off now, and I've already pressed in the seal for the harmonic balancer here. And I do have a seal press kit, but basically if you had a big socket, you could do that too. And all I really wanted to do was to get the seal even with the case. So that's the way it is right now. I've also put a little bit of grease on here, and I don't know if it'll come out on camera, but there is a little spring back here that you want to make sure is still in place as before moving forward. So it is, and I'm good there. I also will notice that there's a little bit of rust around here. Not terrible. I mean, you may be able to fill just a little bit of sliver with your fingernail. So that means that we're just going to put a very light coat of silicone around here, also around here, so that when we press this, and also probably do the same thing on the block. So when we put the gasket in between the block and this, we'll have these little rough areas. Just have a little bit of silicone there so we don't get any water coming through the water passages there where the water pump sits here. And so that's the way I'll do that. And I may or may not do it. It's not too bad. There are a few little spots that are a little rough, so I may do that on the gasket that goes on the water pump too. So this cover isn't that old. It's probably just a few years old. Hasn't seen that much use, so I'm not overly worried about replacing it. So here's the new gasket. As you can tell, there's a little rubber thing here to line it up right so that you get it on the cover right. Other than that, it's the same on both sides, so it's not really have a way to make sure that it goes one way or the other. So the inside here I've wiped out and wiped out. So I'm just going to stick that in that hole to line it up, and then I'm gonna try to see now when it presses down it wants to go crooked, so I'm gonna try to fight that wanting us to do that. Press it in evenly, because if I don't get it started right, it's never gonna finish right. All right, a little closer. I'm gonna try to twist it. There it goes. Okay, so let's take it down one row. Try to keep that in the groove as even as possible. All right. It's a little tricky, but I mean, you can sit here and just roll this in here. There. Okay, so there we go. Okay, now I feel like that part is in there pretty good. Looks like this groove is going right down the center in between the two. All right, so I'm gonna call that good. I find it a lot easier to do this now. Well, if I was under the car right now, I would not want to be trying to put that in there. So, okay, so we're good to go here. I'm gonna use a new product that I found. Loctite high-tack stick, and basically what it is a way to attach it's kind of like a glue stick. So you just roll out this stuff, roll it over the gasket. Let me see if I find it. Here is the gasket. We would just, run the glue stick over here and then place it on the block after I get the silicone on there. So I got to get set up to do that, and then this should be ready to go together. So, and as far as I know, this doesn't need any time to set up. So, and it'll always stay kind of I don't know if I want to call it moist or tacky, I guess is the better word, so that you don't have to worry about this having to set up. So I gotta clean up my thing, get any hair off of here, and then be ready to put this on. All right, well, everything's ready under here except for a final cleaning. I did put on the camshaft bolt. There is no button on there. Oldsonville didn't use a button. That's for aftermarket applications if you have one. The marks are lined up. The oil sling's on there. So everything's going to go be ready to go. All I'm going to do here is put a little brake clean on a rag and clean up anything that I see. Okay. So feels clean. So okay, so we're ready to go. So let's tack up the gasket and put it on here. All right, let's get ready to do this. First thing I'm going to do, I guess, is put a little bit of RTV around here. So I'm just going to put this on by my fingers just to get enough RTV to fill in anything that might allow water to bypass any little rust passage or anything like that. I don't want that happening. So cool. It's a very thin layer. just around this water outlet where it's going to touch this gasket. And then I'll do the same thing to the block. Okay, so just that little bit there. Let's get this out of the way. Now, let me just put this down here and try this glue stick. Okay, I've never used it, but I'm sure it's just like any little kid's glue stick here. I don't think there's a time limit necessarily. This is supposed to stay, you know, kind of like this tacky feel even after the engine runs. So it's supposed to handle heat cycles and everything else. So and stay this consistency. So there shouldn't really be like a time limit on here to get this done. But that doesn't mean I want to screw around. It just takes a little pressure off. Okay. All right, let's move over to the car. We'll put a little bit of silicone on the car, put this on there, and then put the cover on. All right. All right, I'm going to try the same thing here. I'm just going to take a little bit of this blue RTV and put it on the water jacket just to stop anything from leaking. Okay, I'm not using a lot, and they're not really rusted, but somehow I feel a little better if I do this. All right, well, while I was over at the bench, I did the other side here, so I have both sides now coated in this. So let's try to line this up. Okay. Okay. Now let's put the cover on. Now I left some of the water pump bolts in there because it makes it a lot easier to work with this cover. And they don't go into... There we go. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to put these on, and then I'm going to put a couple of bolts that don't go around the water jackets on, just so that I can snug them up too. These ones down here, I think they go to 35 foot-pounds. I'll double check the torque spec and set up the torque wrench. All right, and then I'm going to put some temporary bolts in here just so I can snug these down. These aren't the correct ones. I think these go to maybe hold on the fan or something. All right, but I want the silicone to set up correctly. So that's what I'm doing. All right, I'm just squeezing this down a little bit so I get good adhesion. Not too much, just making sure that they're, you know, set up right. Okay, let me get the torque wrench in. All right, so it is 35 foot-pounds. So we're going to do that now. Normally I like to have a little different leverage with it, but this is fine. It's working fine. I'm not twisting or putting any unusual curve on this, so. All right, so there you go, 35 foot-pounds, and it is on. Okay, well, these are the gaskets that I'm going to use on the oil pan. I don't know if it starts out some kind of cork, but then it's layered in some other stuff here. I don't know the exact, neoprene or something like that. So I'm going to hit it up on both sides with the tacky, Loctite tacky here, and then stick it on up there, and hopefully get this oil pan back on the car. This really is the most technically difficult part because the car engine is being lifted up separately from the car that's lifted, so you have to push the engine up a little bit to get it to be able to get the oil pan enough clearance so I can get in there. So hopefully I can do it without losing some fingers, because if my fingers get caught in there and that engine falls off the thing, I guess if you're seeing this video, that didn't happen, but that is the risk with this. It's a little bit scary that way. All right, and I have to do both sides at once because once you got this in there, you'll never be able to get the other side. There is just not that much room. I'll try to take you under there. Maybe you'll be able to see. And we'll go from there. Give me the gasket. Right now, I'll try to get the gasket in the position, if possible. Yeah. Okay. Come on. It's almost there, but it tucked underneath and went inside the pan here. Try to get a couple of pan bolts. Hold it from this side. Let's stick it there.
You gotta put silicone, I guess.
There's a blue tube. A blue tube laying over here somewhere. Alright, so we'll put some right here. Alright, put the top back on, please. And then we're gonna put these bolts in. Okay. All right. Well, the oil pan is on now, so I'm just kind of showing you what kind of access you have when you're trying to work here. And you're going to have to stick your arm into a couple of paces that can be a little iffy, but you have to get it done if you want to get this on there. So there's a couple of bolts that are underneath where the motor mounts are, so you'll have to try to get those on both sides. But everything else other than 4 bolts, 2 on each side that are underneath where the motor mounts go, are pretty accessible, so you should be able to get it done. Here's what I was up against. Of course, you should take your oil filter off. That'll give you a little more room, and you'll need that starter out of the way. So once those 2 things are out of the way, and you've kind of removed the bolts that hold on the motor mounts, and kind of push them up out of the way, you'll be able to get to those 4 bolts. So that is what the piece of wood's for. It holds the engine up while these motor mounts are disconnected like you see. Okay, so done with that step. The only thing left to do now is lower the motor down, put back in the bolts that hold the engine to the body, and tighten up the transmission mounts that I loosened up while I was working on this, and that'll be it. So there you go. Not the easiest job in the world, but also not impossible. So okay, it's on to the next steps. All right, well, we're finally ready to put in the lifters and the rest of the valve train. Everything you see here, it has been cleaned, and so have the lifters. So all I did was basically take all these parts and clean them in mineral spirits, so they're ready to go. So the only thing left to do now is to lube everything up and stick it in the right spot. There it is. All right, I was just looking for the lube. This is the Comp Cams part 103 that they ship with the kit. So let's get that open. The last time I used one of these was for putting in the cam. And I was very surprised that it looked and felt exactly like that stuff right there. So let's see what this stuff is like. The process is going to be, maybe for this part, I'll put on some gloves. All right, I usually don't wear gloves, but since I've been dealing nothing but oil and grease, I guess I will. All right. So I guess the best way to do this is going to be over by the car, and then I can just put them in there and oil them at the same time. So let's get set up for that. Well, let's start this up and get this done. Okay, as you can tell, this looks exactly like that other stuff. Alright, that's good. Now, you might have noticed that I'm putting these in dry. There is no, I did not pre-soak these lifters. It says that you don't have to. That's exactly what Comp's instructions say. So I'm not. And I will pre-oil them while they're in the bore with the oil pump. So after I get done putting this top end together, we'll go around and hit it with the oil pump and, you know, get them lubed up then, or pumped up. I guess is a better term. Now let's do the lifters, or the push rods. All right. And I did clear out or lube or blew out all of these lifters ahead of time, or these push rods. These are not stock push rods. These are 3/8 push rods.
Oh, you already put the lifters in?
Yep.
Oh shit.
Alright. So the last couple I'm getting done now. Remove the magnets and hold them up. Let them fall down. Okay, now I'm just going to put a little bit of this oil on each top of each spring. All right, and we'll just put the rocker in here.
Okay. Now to answer any questions, no, I did not keep my rocker arms in any order. I did not keep my push rods in any order. And the reason for that is I've never found that necessary. They are not replacing anything with any reciprocal weight on them, like a piston and a rod would, where they're matched so that you get the correct weight evenly distributed throughout the engine. That's not what's going on here. These are not worn. They don't have that many miles on them. And I've never had a problem with not keeping them matched. So that's what I'm doing. You can do what you want. Yeah, they're there.
Okay, last one.
Whew. All right, so now I'm just going to go around with 1/2 inch and just snug them up. All right. Okay. Now what I accomplished in that is pretty much taking these down to 0 lash. There is no play in any of these, and I didn't crank on the bolts. I just tightened them as much as I could, not as much as I could, just snugged them with this, which effectively took it to 0 lash. So what we're going to do now is, since we're in TDC, we're going to start applying them, going around with the firing order. Now you got to remember that this is a standard fire ordering. Don't ask me off the top of my head. I don't have it memorized, but I'll get it. But the point would to be, it takes the crankshaft twice around to do one rotation of the camshaft. So it's a 2-to-1. The top camshaft gear is twice as big as the crankshaft. So the crank's got to go around twice. That makes the cam go around once. So if you were to do the math, for every turn of the crankshaft, 4 cylinders will complete their firing. And on the second time the crank goes around, the other 4 will go and they'll complete their thing. So in 2 rotations, or 1 rotation of the cam, we'll be able to get all the timing done. And we're just going to follow the timing order, which if you break it down further, and if you're doing 4 cylinders, and so we're doing 4 cylinders, 1 rotation of the crank, that means every 90 degrees, one of these cylinders will line up, and that will be by the firing order. So the first 4 in the firing order we'll do first, in the order that they go. So that'll be the easiest way to do this, now that they're all at 0 lash. So let's go ahead and get set up for that. Okay, so I wrote down the firing order. This is for, I believe Chevy has the same firing order too, and there's probably others, but the order is 1843. So 1843 will be the first 4 cylinders that we do. Then we'll do 6, 5, 7, and 2. So it's 25 foot-pounds. The way you do this is it'll be 25 foot-pounds on, these are non-adjustable rockers. So this is standard Oldsmobile issue right here. The only difference is I'm using all steel instead of like cast aluminum that the factory came with. These are a little stronger. So I know the crank is sitting at TDC right now, so I'm going to be turning the crank, but not right now. I'm going to put this one to 25 and this one to 25, and then we're going to be jumping to number 8, which is opposite corner over there. And so this is all odd side, so 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8 over there. So we're going to be jumping around a little bit, but as we can see inside the thing, number 8 is still up. If you look at number 1, every lifter, both lifters are below the bore there, so we know that it's ready. And when we look at number 8 in the opposite corner over there, we see one of them is up in the air, so we know that's not quite ready. But if we go 90 degrees, that should look different over there. So let's go ahead and get set up to do this. All right, I'm going to do one more thing since I don't have the polar or the balancer on. I'm just going to put a dot right here to let me know that that's top dead center. So next time I go around, I know where I'm starting from. So, okay, so let's begin. 25 foot-pounds, that's what the Oldsmobile spec is. All right, 90 degrees, and then number 8.
Oh my, dude. Oh, this is so good.
All right, I saw that little mark go around 90 degrees. I see both of these. I might go a little further. Let's see. Okay. There. I watched them both sink to their lowest spot, so they should be in the right position now. Now it's just a matter of tightening. One. Okay, I'm not going to get on there good. Give me that shorty 1.5 or ½ inch over there. For this end, I need a smaller one to get in here because of the heater AC unit. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the break-in oil. So hopefully that's coming out. I can't tell really if it is, but it's basically Driven's break-in oil, 40 weight break-in oil, so 10W40 break-in oil. And I'm going to put in 5 quarts because I'm going to get ready to prime the engine and make sure I have oil running up everywhere that I'm supposed to have it. And I also plugged in my oil pressure gauge just so that the oil doesn't squirt out of there. So the first one will be this one. All right, try again. That's 5 quarts of the break-in oil. Comp also suggests that you put in a 12 ounces of their additional break-in oil additive. So that'll go on top of the 5 quarts of the break-in oil. So I'll put in the 12 ounces of this stuff. Okay, this stuff is really thick. Okay. That's everything out of that. Now I'm just going to run the drill, put it on reverse. Oops. Reverse. Okay. Okay, that feels like it. Yep. All right, let's see what she does. Seeing oil come up in quite a few of these. All right, I got oil coming out of, I think, it's really hard to tell. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's got oil, 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 oil. That one, the oil's coming, that came. Let's go look at the other side. So it looks like oil came out here, starting. Oil, good, good, good. Yep, those ones are full. Just running a second more here. There it goes. All right, and hopefully you can see that oil, whoa, is coming out everywhere. So good, good. Everything came out, so that's good. All right, that must mean the lifters are primed. All right, well, I didn't have an oil pump here, but I do, well, I mean oil pump. I don't have an oil gauge out here, but I know before the engine was running decent oil pressure, so I'm not too worried about that step. I guess I'm gonna put the lifter tray in here, and yeah, and then I think we're ready for the manifold to go on. All right, well, I'm ready to put the valley pan in. I will tell you that I had to modify this slightly. For whatever reason, Oldsmobile doesn't make this straight groove like this, and they pinch it off in the center, which made it really hard for me to line this up. So I am not going to do it that way, and or put up with that. The reason is because I'm using a larger than stock push rods, and they need to line up exactly in these holes, so I had to open that up. I'm not ever sure why it was like that in the first place, but it was causing a little bit of binding here, so I want these to sit the way they need to sit. So this way that screw should drop right in there without any issue, which with the stock setup is always a pain. You have to like put it in from the side and slide it over. Don't understand that. Why would you make that difficult? So I'm just doing a little modification like that, and then making sure that these line up. Alright. I don't put any Loctite on there. The factory didn't put any Loctite on there, so I really don't see a reason either. But I will snug them up. I never found a torque spec on them, so they're just going to get, you know, hand tight. And I've never seen them come loose, so I'm not too worried about it. There you go. Alright. Push rods all look like they're in the middle of those areas, so that looks good. I was having a problem getting it to line up before, so you may have to do a little modification there to make that to work. So the next thing is I'm going to put some blue silicone around each one of the water jackets, and then I'll put the gaskets on, and then we'll put the manifold on. A little bit to make sure that I'm filling in for any inconsistencies that may have happened. Any little thing that would have made this sealing surface not ideal. Alright. Okay. Now just come behind me and make sure that I like the bead. Now I'll put the Velcro gaskets on. Okay. Just making sure that they're all sitting in the center of these holes. Okay, that looks good, and then we're going to put on the 2 seals. Now, I've tried it both ways, with and without the silicone. I've never found a reason not to use the factory rails that they come up with, and they say, oh, they leak, they blow out, or they do this. I've never seen that to be the case. So I'm not doing it. If Velcro thought that these were a problem, I'm sure they would have redesigned it, but they didn't, and I don't see reason to go back. I'm just going to stick that under there. Okay. All right. Do the back. I have to slide that up a little bit. Get that under there. Okay. All right. Now, get these relined up. Looks like it's lined up. All right. Let that set up for a few seconds, and then we'll drop on the manifold. There is blue stuff here. I'm debating whether I want to put any extra on. I think I might put just a little bit on the water jackets on the manifold and then set it on here. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to put on this manifold. It is extremely heavy and not easy to work with. Okay.
Okay, he's right.
Now, I can move it around.
Oh, wow. Oh, shit. Okay, we're good. Well, yeah, without hitting your head.
All right, I think I'm off a little bit. No, I think I'm on. All right.
Yeah, that looks about...
This gasket looks good here.
Yeah.
It looks all right. Feeling the back gasket, making sure it's on there all right. It feels all right. All right.
Okay.
Now let me get the bolts.
Yeah.
All right, so the process is to go ahead and put the long bolts in these ones that have the thick sides, the short bolts here. So there's 4 short bolts and 6 long ones. 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 long ones. So now we put them in along with this engine hoist, and I'm going to put it right there. Now what you're supposed to do is coat these bolts with oil, coat the threads with oil, so that they'll give a better torque spec. And the first go around is 15 foot-pounds. So first go around is 15 foot-pounds with this. So I'm just gonna stick these in. Hopefully I'll get them started. That took care of the problem. Just take it in and out a couple of times and she's okay now. Alright, so let me get the torque wrench and the book. Tell me which order to do these in, and then we'll be done with putting it in. And number 1. Alright, then we go back to the back of the engine for 3. And 4. Okay. 1, 3, 4, and then we're going 5 is next to 4. 5 next to 4. And then 6. Seven and then 8. Seven and 8. 3 and 4. All right. Well, what I plan to do next is put on the harmonic balancer and put the water pump on, so I can get those out of the way. I've never used one of these harmonic balancer installers. I usually just push it on and then bring it in with the bolt. But I've decided to be a little more careful now. So I'm gonna pull this puller out and then see how this goes. So let's get set up for that. All right. Okay. So there shouldn't be too much to this. This is going to be the part that screws in. This is going to be the part that we need to put the balancer over. So I'll take this off. Screw this into the crankshaft and then put the balancer on. Or I guess I could leave the balancer on. Anyways, let's go get that done. Alright, I'm just going to take the balancer off because alright, it ain't going to be that end. Where is it? Okay, that's all the farther you can take that in. Now, put this over that. Should line up about right there. Okay. Okay, then we'll put this on. If it's no, I guess the washer went this way. No, I guess the washer goes the other way. Can't remember. I guess I want the washer this way so it can spin. Okay. All right. Now let's put it on. I can tell you so far this is super easy. It is just going right on. Okay. I guess she's in all the way. It's all the farther it crankens down. So I'm going to assume that's it. All right. Okay. Now all that's left is to put the bolt in with its washer. Now, let's see. Okay, and I am going to put this on with an air hammer. I'm just going to give it a few seconds with the air hammer. Ready to give this a shot here. All right, there we go. Well, I probably gave it 4 or 5 seconds, so that'll be as tight as it goes. That air, I had a lot of pressure going to that, and I don't want to wreck it to side. I saw the socket turning just millimeters, so I think that'll be good. I mean, that is the way that I've always done this, and that'll be the way it goes this time too. So now I'm going to put the water pump on next, I think, just to get that piece over with, and then the front of the motor's here, and then it's getting the HEI distributor put in, which this didn't used to have one on it, so it's going to be a little bit different. So that'll be the next thing.
Well, congratulations on making it through part 2. Now the engine is mostly together. Then in part 3, I'm going to be doing the wiring for the HEI, installing the HEI, installing the fans, the electric fans for the radiator, and getting this thing started up. So see you in the next one.